Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Courtrooms are built for order, but strong emotions can change everything. In this video, we explore intense family reactions that made headlines.
This is the case of 62-year-old Dale Williams, who was charged with murder in Youngstown, Ohio. Back in June 2017, Williams forced his ex-girlfriend Elizabeth Pledger Stewart's vehicle off the road, causing a serious accident. After the crash, he fatally shot the 46-year-old mother of two. Following his arrest, Williams admitted guilt to charges of aggravated murder and illegal possession of a weapon, putting him at risk of a life sentence. During his sentencing hearing, the victim's two sons took matters into their own hands and sought their own form of justice. During the sentencing hearing, 30-year-old Anthony suddenly leaped across the table, slipping past deputies and pulling Dale Williams down by his feet. Moments later, 23-year-old Jerome Stewart rushed in to assist his brother, and together they unleashed a series of punches and kicks on the defendant. Chaos erupted in the courtroom as deputies struggled to restrain the brothers, forcing one officer to draw a taser and fire in an attempt to regain control. After the chaotic courtroom attack, Dale Williams was escorted out as he wiped blood from his face. The victim's two grieving sons were taken into custody and charged with assault, contempt of court, and obstruction of justice. Williams was later sentenced to 23 years to life in prison for murdering his ex-girlfriend.
In May 2019, Bashan Flowers was on trial for murder in Macomb County, Michigan. Flowers allegedly shot and killed his wife Jamie at their home in Macomb Heights after an argument over cigarettes. The couple had initially fought for more than a day before police arrived and separated them. Flowers left the home but returned hours later, kicked in the door, and shot Jamie 4 times. The 46-year-old then turned himself in and was charged with open murder. Jamie's daughter Paris, who witnessed the entire incident, testified in court.
Got down on the ground and started choking my mother. Actually, I heard, "You don't have to do this, Fayshawn. Please don't do this. You don't have to do this." And then I heard gunshots.
Do you recall how many you heard?
4. I got up and I left out of the room. She was sitting straight up against the wall.
You observed some blood?
Yes, on her shirt. Gunshots, bullet holes in her shirt, and blood.
But it was Jamie's son who decided to take matters into his own hands. 1-year-old London Jones was seated in the gallery with his siblings when he suddenly leaped over the barricade and charged toward his Vashon. Eventually, the grieving son was restrained and removed from the courtroom. Ultimately, Vashon was convicted of Jamie's murder and sentenced to life in prison. Meanwhile, Flowers had to face his son's fury. This raises the question, what happens when a victim's child attacks their mother's killer?
We head to Springfield, Massachusetts, where a hearing was underway for accused serial killer Alfred Gaynor. According to reports, Gaynor terrorized the city of Springfield, assaulting and brutally murdering 9 women between 1995 and 1998. He was finally arrested after his DNA matched evidence from the crime scenes. At the hearing, one of Gaynor's victim's sons, Eric D., sat in the gallery. 3 deputies surrounded Gaynor, but it would not be enough to prevent what was about to happen.
Gaynor's being held in extreme conditions of confinement. He's being held without right to bail.
Without warning, Downs jumped over the barricade and lunged at the defendant Gaynor. His sister tried to hold him back, but not before the grieving son delivered a final blow. A deputy led Gaynor to safety while other officers worked to restore order.
DS was later charged with assault and contempt of court. As for Gaynor, he eventually pleaded guilty to all 9 murders and was sentenced to 8 consecutive life terms.
If one brother can cause so much chaos in a courtroom, how does it compare to 2 brothers attacking a defendant, like in the case of 24-year-old Jason Howard, who was facing multiple murder charges in Warren, Ohio? In 2006, Howard was arrested after allegedly shooting and killing his ex-girlfriend, 27-year-old Jamila West, at her Columbus home and then suffocating her 3 children at a pretrial hearing. Tensions were about to explode. Without warning, the victim's brother, 30-year-old Lewis West, lunged at Howard, delivering blow after blow on the shackled defendant. Phil Eckenrode was the only one standing between his prisoner and the distraught brother.
It was my job to try to protect my prisoner to the best of my ability.
With Sergeant Eckenrode's hands already full, another sibling, 29-year-old Sultan Hanzu, dove through the doorway and began striking Howard repeatedly.
The situation was on the verge of spiraling out of control, but Sergeant Eckenrode managed to regain control of the courtroom and the brothers were arrested. Howard was not seriously injured, sustaining only a few scratches, and his murder charges were later dropped due to lack of evidence. While 2 brothers carried out their own version of courtroom justice, it raises the question, what happens when a distraught teenager, like James Douglas Gonzalez, lunges at the defendant?
In 1992, James Douglas Gonzalez was on trial for murder in Mobile, Alabama. Gonzalez had reportedly shot and killed 18-year-old Matthew Hall at a party following an altercation. He later claimed he acted in self-defense. During the trial, the victim's father, Matthew Hall Sr., and younger brother, Kevin, waited anxiously in the gallery for the jury's verdict. When the jury returned, Gonzalez was found guilty of the lesser misdemeanor charge of criminally negligent homicide. Feeling robbed of justice, Kevin Hall decided to take matters into his own hands. Without warning, Kevin jumped from his seat, leaped over the barricade, and charged at the defendant, landing a punch to his face. His father, Hall Sr., soon joined the melee. It took several officers and onlookers to subdue the 2 spectators, leaving the courtroom shaken. Gonzalez's mother and grandmother broke down after the attack. The Halls were charged with contempt of court and sentenced to 5 days in jail. Gonzalez received just 1 year in prison for the death of Matthew Hall, while Kevin Hall had taken matters into his own hands. This raises the question, what happens when a defendant is actually shot in the courtroom, like in the case of Francisco Clydevaldo Mariano de Mora? We head south of the border to São José de Belmonte, Brazil, for the murder trial of 38-year-old Francisco Clydevaldo Mariano de Mora. According to reports, in 2012, de Mora shot Francisco Alves at his home in Lagoa Alexandria following an argument over a donkey. During a jury session, the victim's 27-year-old son, Cristiano Alves Turdo, sat at the back of the courtroom while the defendant faced forward. As Turdo stood up, he was about to put a sinister plan into motion. Initially, a woman tried to stop Turdo, but the distraught son pulled out a .38 caliber revolver and fired 2 shots directly at de Mora, just a few feet away from a juror and an attorney. The rest of the courtroom erupted into chaos as the vengeful Turdo unleashed another volley of point-blank shots at the defendant. De Mora ran for his life, desperately seeking cover from the hail of bullets. After emptying his 6th chamber, Turdo furiously struck de Mora with the butt of his gun. The gun-wielding son then fled the courtroom, was arrested the following day, and charged with attempted murder. Miraculously, de Mora managed to stand behind the judge's desk before slumping to the ground. He was rushed to a local hospital and made a full recovery. While a grieving son nearly killed his father's murderer, it raises the question, what happens when a defendant is chased by the victim's family? In Jefferson County Justice Center in Louisville, Kentucky, Paul Wade appeared for an arraignment. 3 weeks earlier, police had discovered the bodies of 26-year-old Edward Smith and 24-year-old Alexis McSierry shot dead in the Russell neighborhood. After reviewing surveillance footage from the area, authorities arrested 31-year-old Paul Wade. Already out on probation, Wade was charged with 2 counts of murder and possession of a handgun by a convicted felon. During the hearing, Judge Haney presided over the case and had an 8th grader shadowing her who aspired to become a judge one day. Sitting in the gallery were family members of the 2 victims, and tensions quickly escalated as they immediately clashed with courtroom protocol.
Mr. Eggert is retained on
Quiet in courtroom.
vacation.
Okay, hold on. Ma'am, you're gonna have to leave the courtroom.
After a brief disruption, the hearing proceeded as scheduled.
So hold on, I've got someone who doesn't have a lawyer?
Since Wade's attorney was not present, Judge Haney rescheduled the hearing for a later date.
Do you want an opportunity to hire Mr. Eggert?
Yes, ma'am.
You do?
Yes, ma'am.
You think it's realistic that will happen?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I will give you to November 1st.
As Wade was being removed from the courtroom, he shouted an expletive toward those seated in the gallery.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing.
Suddenly, chaos erupted. Judge Haney then hit the panic button and called for help. More deputies arrived and used pepper spray to defuse the situation. Even Judge Haney had to step down from the bench to assist. In the end, 4 people were arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and obstructing governmental operations. 2 of them faced additional charges of assault and resisting arrest. Paul Wade's court hearing had completely spiraled out of control, raising the question, how does this chaos compare to a defendant being physically attacked or punched by the victim's family Jeffrey Clark brother? Like in the case of 33-year-old Jeffrey Clark, who was facing first-degree premeditated murder charges in Fraser, Michigan. On July 4, 2022, Clark shot and killed 28-year-old Joe Robertson in execution style after chasing him down an apartment complex parking lot.
This was an execution. Just wasn't a murder, an execution. The man was pleading for his life.
A doorbell camera captured the moment Robertson was shot.
As the victim runs for his life, he's now in the city of Fraser.
Clark was arrested after the ankle monitor he was wearing placed him at the crime scene.
Your Honor, at the time, the defendant had a tether on his ankle. We do have the tether records that place him at that location at that time.
During his trial, Clark's girlfriend testified that the defendant had threatened her after the shooting.
He proceeded to tell me that he would kill me if I told on him. He told me exactly what he did to Mr. Robertson. He told me that Mr. Robertson begged for his life, and that the only thing he was worried about was that he was on tether.
But when the prosecution played a video showing the judge and family members how Robertson was executed, the courtroom erupted into chaos.
Man, they gonna see you.
Sitting in the gallery and watching his brother beg for his life was Robertson's twin, Jerry, who then got into a brawl with the defendant. Jerry also clashed with Clark's father, who was furious that his son had been punched.
You don't hit, you hit him. Man, he killed us. Hey! Yeah, put him in there with myself.
Go ahead.
Put him in there.
Best down, old man.
Knock it off.
Best down. Best down. Go.
After order was restored, Clark was convicted of first-degree murder, felony firearm, and felon in possession of a firearm. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. While Jeffrey Clark was attacked by his victim's twin brother, it raises the question, what happens when a victim's brother, like Tristan Lamoro, charges at the defendant? Like in the case of Tristan Lamro, who is facing murder charges in Cedar City, Utah, Lamro reportedly shot his wife, 19-year-old Misty, multiple times in the head, killing her instantly. When police arrived, they found Misty's body in the bathroom and arrested Lamro after he attempted to flee the scene. Instead of going to trial, the 24-year-old pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. Now, during sentencing, Misty's brother, Jason Wilson, was called to the podium to deliver his victim impact statement. Tension in the courtroom grew as Wilson spoke about the devastating effect his sister's murder had on his family. Emotional and furious, Wilson then turned his attention toward the defendant, even taking a step in his direction. The court bailiffs cautiously stepped in as Wilson grew increasingly overcome with emotion, but the grieving brother had other plans. As the bailiffs approached, Wilson ran behind the attorney's table and tried to strike Lamro. Before he could reach the defendant, the bailiffs sprang into action, tackling both Wilson and Lamro to the ground. Wilson was restrained and removed from the courtroom and faced no additional charges. Once the dust settled, order was restored, and the sentencing continued. Eventually, Lamro was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison for the murder of his wife. While Tristan Lamro endured the fury of a grieving brother, it raises the question, what happens when a victim's daughter loses control of her emotions in court, as in the case of Tevin Merriweather? Like in the case of 25-year-old Tevin Merriweather, who was facing murder charges in DeKalb County, Georgia. In June 2019, police reported that Merriweather got into an argument with 34-year-old Mayan Pierce at a gas station on Glenwood Avenue. The dispute escalated into a physical altercation, during which Merriweather shot Pierce multiple times, instantly killing the beloved father. At a bond hearing, Pierce's 15-year-old daughter, Tashia Campbell, was seated in the gallery while the defense attorney argued on behalf of his client. This was the moment when the distraught daughter completely lost control.
You see there, deputies had to remove her from the courtroom. Channel 2 station.
Overwhelmed with grief, Campbell lashed out at Merriweather and charged toward the defendant. Thankfully, deputies intervened just in time and removed her from the courtroom. Once order was restored, the judge denied bond and sent Merriweather back to prison.